In 2020, 18-year-old Madison Bell disappeared days before her high school graduation. Her car was found in the church parking lot. The doors were open. The windows were down. Her smartphone was on the seat, and her keys were in the ignition. The FBI, police, and several hundred volunteers scoured the area for a week, and the case quickly went on national television. When this case was finally solved, the entire public was shocked. Madison Bell lived in the small American town of Greenfield, Ohio, with her mother Melissa, father, and boyfriend Cody. The girl just turned 18 years old. She was supposed to be graduating a few days after her disappearance. She was the captain of her school's cheerleading team and had many friends. After receiving her diploma, she planned to go to college and study to become a doctor. On the morning of May 17, 2020, she told her mother that she would go to a tanning salon that was just a few minutes' drive from her home. Maddie promised to return soon, got into her car, and drove away. Several hours passed, but she still did not return. Her mother began to worry. She knew that Maddie sometimes stopped at McDonald's after tanning to get coffee. In addition, her daughter always called or wrote when she was late. But this time she didn't get in touch. The mother decided to call her herself, but there was no answer. Maddie also did not answer her boyfriend's calls or messages. Melissa then used the iPhone Locator app, which showed her the location of her daughter's smartphone. Judging by the map, it was located somewhere between the local church and the solarium. She and Cody thought that Maddie might have been in an accident, or something else had happened to her. Without thinking twice, they got into the car and went in search. They arrived at the building where the solarium was located, but there was no sign of Maddie. Then they pulled into the church parking lot and saw her car. Coming closer, the mother became even more worried. Her daughter's smartphone was on the driver's seat. The windows were open and the doors were unlocked. The keys were sticking out of the ignition. It all looked very strange. What could make the girl leave her car and smartphone in the parking lot, leaving the doors open? Her mother hoped that Maddie had only gone somewhere nearby, but she was not in the church or in the solarium building. Even if we assume that the girl left for only a few minutes, it would be very unreasonable to leave the car and things in this condition, because anyone could steal them or steal the car. Melissa decided not to hesitate and called the police. They immediately began searching, and soon the first clue awaited them. An employee at the church where Maddie's car was found called the Highland County Police Department. He reported that in the morning he saw a white car with California license plates in the parking lot. Considering that California is more than 3.5 thousand kilometers from Ohio, the driver of this car interested the police. Moreover, he was in the parking lot just at the time when the girl disappeared, and there were no other cars there, since the church was closed due to the coronavirus. Soon, the police had another witness who noticed this car and managed to make out the driver. He turned out to be a man about 30 years old with blonde hair. The witness was unable to see if there was anyone else in his car. Meanwhile, police examined surveillance cameras in the area and spotted the car and its driver. However, there was not enough footage to establish the man's identity. The sheriff's office released the photos and said the person in the photo may have information about Madison Bell's disappearance. While police tried to track down this mysterious man, hundreds of city residents joined the search. They combed the streets and surrounding areas, posting leaflets. At the same time, the FBI became involved in the case. Drones were even used in the search for Maddie. Law enforcement agencies have also offered a reward of $15,000 for any information that helps find the girl. Among the volunteers were many students from Madison's high school. The joy about the upcoming graduation gave way to a state close to mourning. The available information about the girl's disappearance was enough to make the most disappointing forecasts. In just a few days, the case became national. He was talked about all over the news. Maddie's relatives were interviewed. The governor of Ohio publicly expressed hope that the girl could be found alive. The search was in full swing for almost a week, until on Friday, May 22. The Ellen County Sheriff made an unexpected statement. Madison Bell has been found safe and sound. He stated that no one abducted the girl. She fled from home on purpose and did not want her current location to be disclosed. Immediately after this, her relatives made a public statement. They thanked the police, the FBI, and hundreds of volunteers for their active participation in the search, and asked journalists to respect their privacy at such a difficult time. Nobody expected such a development of events, and many people had natural questions. The lack of any specifics from the police and family was even more puzzling. About 300 people spent a week combing the forests, ditches, and streets. The story was widely covered in the news across the country, and everyone wanted to know what really happened. A few days later, the sheriff did share some details. Madison was found in the company of the same man who was caught on camera, not far from the church. They were traced to Texas thanks to the license plates on his car. Considering that the girl was 18, and she left with him of her own free will, the police were forced to stop the investigation. The residents of Greenfield were, to put it mildly, shocked by this turn of events, but they did not even imagine that this was far from the end of the story. After several weeks of silence, Madison suddenly went live on her Instagram, after which she made several more broadcasts. There she answered many questions related to this story. First, she finally revealed the identity of the man who was caught on camera the day she disappeared. And it turned out to be 29-year-old Zach Salmon from Texas. She and Maddie met in an online game when she was just 15 years old. According to her, a friendship quickly developed between them. They talked a lot and spent time playing in the place. The girls had to constantly clean up their correspondence so that her parents or boyfriend wouldn't see it. At the same time, she insisted that before she came of age, there were no romantic conversations between them. A few years later, when she turned 18, she shared some very disturbing facts about her family with Zach. She said her boyfriend Cody moved in with them when he was 14, and she was 13. Maddie said she never wanted a relationship with him, but her parents allegedly insisted that the girl date him. Where this Cody came from, where his parents are, and what all this means, she did not specify. And this information is not freely available. This story sounds frankly wild and strange. All this does not show the girl's parents in the best light. Madison added that she repeatedly warned her mother that as soon as she reached adulthood, she would break up with Cody. She also stated that her mother often punished her physically. All this led to the girl seriously thinking about running away from home as soon as she turned 18. Zach supported her and promised to help her get out of this situation. They began to create a plan. We chose a time and place to meet. The church parking lot was not chosen by chance. Most of it was out of sight of street cameras. Therefore, the couple did not have to worry that they would be quickly identified. On May 17, Zach arrived at the same parking lot, and Madison arrived a few minutes later. They talked for about 5 minutes and prepared to escape. The girl left her phone and keys in the car, taking only her documents. After that, they got into Zach's car and drove to his home in Texas. Maddie claimed that she did not know about the large-scale search until the moment when the police knocked on their door with Zach. In her broadcasts, Maddie said that she had not even called her mother and did not plan to do so. She just said that she loved Zach and was happy with him. Among all her stories, there was one more point that caused confusion among the public. When her mother reported her daughter missing to the police, she claimed that Maddie would never have run away from home, and she did not leave any note. The girl herself said the opposite. According to her, there was still a note. It's hard to take anyone's word for it in this whole story. But here's what's strange. Studying this whole story, investigators came to the conclusion that the mother called the police just 15 minutes after her daughter left the house. First, it went against her earlier statements. Secondly, in such a short period of time, Maddie clearly would not have had time to go to the solarium. The only logical explanation lies on the surface. The mother did find the note, but deliberately lied to the police. They would never look for an adult who left a note declaring his voluntary departure from home. As a result of this, the mother put the whole city, including several hundred volunteers, on its ears. On June 20, 2020, Zach published a post on his Facebook with new details of the story. The first part was dedicated to their acquaintance in the game and how they came up with the idea of Maddie's escape. The guy told how he brought her to his home in Texas, where he lived with his mother. He went on to tell how the police knocked on their door, talked to Madison, and left. A few weeks later, the couple found out that many people on the internet supported them and were even ready to help with money. At the time of the escape, Maddie had only $50 in her pocket, and Zach, at 29 years old, did not work anywhere. The girl opened new accounts on social networks and began accepting donations from these people, but she did not have her own bank account, so the money went to Zacho's account. According to him, they managed to raise more than $3,000. The money went towards clothes, food, and other expenses. How at that moment Maddie decided to get in touch with her mother, and they called each other. The conversation did not last long. The girl hung up because she thought her mother was crying too fakely. A few days later she called again, and around the same time, Zacho's mom kicked them out of the house. Apparently, she was tired of supporting her son and his girlfriend. After talking with her parents, Maddie found out that they were now on vacation in Florida. She decided to meet them, and she and Zach bought plane tickets. All this caused the girl great stress, according to Zach's story. Arriving at the place, the couple checked into the hotel, and soon Madison went alone to meet her relatives. On the way home, she had a panic attack and was taken to the hospital. That same night she called Zach and asked him to pick her up. So he did. The next day they walked along the beach. It seemed to the guy that everything was starting to get better, and Maddie was feeling much better. But the girl decided to meet her mother again, despite the fact that the last time ended in a panic attack for her. When her parents stopped by her hotel, Zach noticed that Cody was driving. This surprised him greatly, because Madison had repeatedly told him that she did not want to see her ex-boyfriend. Then Zach suspected that sympathy might arise between them, and he was right. A few days later, right before Zach's birthday, Maddie left him. He did not reveal any details, only added that he flew home to Texas, and that was the end of their story.